So this particular data analytics assignment is going to look at sports analytics. In particular, it's going to look at the Premier League data. So you've spent a small fortune on the squad, got state-of-the-art facilities, employ a dietitian and a psychologist. But today, you'll win nothing without an analytics team to crunch the numbers from every aspect of your player's performance. We, as data analysts and computer scientists, are now going to look at some of the Premier League data from 2021 to 2022 season and see can we make some meaningful insights into that data. Each group is going to select a Premier League team to investigate. We're going to download the required data sets. The chosen data set must be prepared, cleaned and stored in a suitable file system or database. A program should analyse and interpret the data from the file system to get its frequency, mean, median and mode. There should be appropriate graphs and visualizations displayed for the end user. You will need to have Tani, your IED for Python. You'll need to install Pandas, PYODBC packages. Did you know that Pandas is the most popular data manipulation package in Python? And data frames are Pandas data types for storing tabular 2D data. Our first step is to prepare the data. A data analyst would use data exploration techniques to get a sense of what the data entails. To do this, we move over to Tani. Assuming you already have your packages installed, you start coding. Import pandas using the alias PD. Next, you must import your dataset. At this stage, I'm assuming that you have already downloaded your dataset from one of the data analytics websites, such as kaggle.com, and that you have saved it onto your computer. Once you have your dataset saved onto your computer, you can then import it into Tani. So to import it into Tani, you're going to use the pandas package, which abstracts away all the details that you don't need to worry about. And we use that package then to read in our CSV file. So the way pandas works is you give it a data frame, and data frames are very like variables. So you give it a name. So I'm going to call mine here data. You can call it DF for data frame. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it Premier League if you wish. It's entirely up to you to decide what to call your data frame. Just remember that it just acts exactly like a variable does. So data equals PD, which is the alias for pandas, pd.read to read in the file, underscore CSV, because that's the type of file it is, and open my brackets. Inside my brackets I put in my string marks, and then I now need to paste in the location of my file. So if I open up my file explorer, my file is located in here, 2021-2022 Premier League data. So I'm going to copy this here, this file directory. I'm going to paste it into Tani. I'm not finished yet because I also need the file name. So my file name is in here. Copying it back to Tani, pasting it, and I put .csv at the end because it's a CSV file. Now I'm almost done with that. The only thing is, because we're reading backwards to get the file instead of the / we have to actually turn them the other direction because Tani is reading backwards looking for this particular file. So we have to change the direction here of all of our slashes for the drives and the folder locations. Now that I have that in, if I run it, if there's any problems, it'll give me an error. I must save it first of all, of course. And it looks like it's running okay. So now I can start having a look at preparing the data. A bit of comments. Comments are really important in this. Preparing the data. Now, the first thing that a data analyst might look at is the shape of the data. So how many rows and how many columns are they dealing with? And then they can decide after that how they want to clean it and what they want to do with it. But have a little look at how the shape of the data is. Just get Tani to print the data dot shape. And press run. And there we have 380 rows and 106 columns. So I could, if I wanted, pop in a print statement in here. Number of rows and columns in the data is 380 and 106 respectively. The other thing that you can do if you want is to actually do it in the shell down here, which is because you're running through a database. Sometimes databases, and a lot of the time they can be very large, and data analysts would use the shell to check if that particular line of code is working. So you can go one line at a time without having to wait for the whole program to run once you have your file read in once. So that can just speed up your efficiency when you're doing some data analytics. However, in order for it to be saved, it must be in the main program up here. So for your project, you do have to code it in the main program. But if you're just testing very quickly, you can copy it down here to the shell to see if it'll run for you. Another method of cleaning the data is to look at the head of it. So I'm just going to put in a comment before I move away from this. Preparing the data, and this particular one was the number of rows and columns. Now, my next thing is to look at the first couple of lines in it. So if I get, for example, the Python to display the top 10 rows in the data set. Again, it's just print print data dot head, and the number of rows goes in here. So I'm going to put 10 in here. If I wanted 5 rows, I'd pop the 5 in there. And again, I can either print that where it is and run it, or I can pop it in the shell and just run that line of code in the shell, which is super fast. So here I can see the top 10 rows of data. So I can kind of see the formats here that, and you know, what I'm dealing with in terms of getting an idea, which is just preparing the analyst. That's all it's doing. And the final thing I might do to prepare is just get an overview of the data. So you give me the types of integers, see if it's an integer, if it's a string, if it's any null values, all of that is part of the info. So if I ask Tani to display, I'm putting in a comment here first. So it's just a comment to explain what I'm going to do. And then it's print data.info. That's an info function, so I open bracket, close bracket here, and I run that. Now I press run, so it's running through all the lines. So here I have, it's telling me 180 entries, there's 106 columns, there's 82 floats, there's 16 integers, there's 8 objects, and the amount of memory that's used, and none means that there's no null values. This is good because we always watch for null values in data analytics because they can skew data in a particular direction because they are empty cells. So it's good that our particular data set doesn't have any null values. Now my data is prepared. The next stage is to clean the data. We'll do that in the next video.